The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Dave Asprey, the serial entrepreneur, author, and world-renowned biohacker. As the founder of Bulletproof 360, you spent the last 10 years making products that focus on enhancing mental and physical performance through nutrition, supplements, and technology. You're best known for creating Bulletproof Coffee, a mix of high-quality coffee, grass-fed butter, and MCT oil. And you've written several books, including bestsellers Game Changers, Headstrong, and The Bulletproof Diet, while your work has been featured in Forbes and the New York Times. Your latest book, Smarter, Not Harder, The Biohacker's Guide to Getting the Body and Mind You Want, reveals how anyone can maximize their well-being with minimal effort. Your goal is to keep as many people as possible, teach them to optimize their health and mental well-being, while on a personal level, your mission is to live to 180 years old. Dave, welcome back to London Real.
Brian, it's so cool to see you again. I've been on London Real enough times to see the evolution from the early days to now, and it's so impressive.
Thank you, Dave. You've been coming on for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Like 10 or more. You came back in the old studio before we had the leather chairs, and you put on that, I think that head EKG monitor. And,
right.
That episode and all those clips went crazy viral. All the stuff and modafinil and all the stuff you were doing. And that was a long time ago. You know, you were going viral, Dave. So yeah, always appreciate sitting down with you. We've had so many great conversations, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Me too. Let's do it. How can we help your audience the best today? That's what I'm here for.
First, I find the age thing really curious. As I get older, I'm thinking about it. So 180 years old is going to be for you like 2150. Something like that ish.
Oh, it's way beyond that.
Is it? Am I under?
Oh, 2150, not 2050. Yeah, there you go. About 2150. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Is that possible?
Sure.
Do you need a biohacker?
Did you want me to? Yes, it is possible.
Do you believe you will live that long, or you could live that long?
I believe that if I choose to live that long and a piano doesn't fall out of the sky or a truck doesn't hit me, there's no reason I can't do it.
Okay, got it. And by following the protocols, I mean, I've heard you say that when you actually test your biological age, it's like 11 years younger than your current age. So, I mean, through all of your practices, you're already tracking to be much younger than your numbers.
I'm 20% younger than my actual age, basically, slightly more than 20%, maybe 25%. And there is a great debate over which aging clock you should use to measure that. But the deal is, I used to weigh 50% more than I weigh now. I have a history of autoimmunity. I had chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia and high risk of stroke and heart attack and pre-diabetes and cognitive dysfunction before I was 30. I started out not strong. I'm like the guy at the Olympics who like falls over coming out of the starting block and then gets up and is like running and then catching up. But I did that. So if I can do this, it's probably easier for you. It's probably easier for someone listening to the show right now, because it's unlikely they're as trashed as I was. And it also, I'm fortunate I got to spend a lot of money to do that. But because I've done it, because other people are willing to go to crazy lengths, we're highlighting the way. We're lighting the torch to say, well, here's how you might do it. And the reason I could even do this is I started in my mid-20s running an anti-aging group where 80-year-olds taught me their secrets. So I'm just, passing it on and enhancing it and polishing it and handing it off. And there are now 25-year-old biohackers who have joined the movement that I started. And they are taking this saying, well, what would happen if I just didn't age in the first place? And they're getting profound results. And they're walking around with more energy than all their friends. And they don't age like their friends because it's easier to do preventative maintenance than it is to go in and repair everything after it breaks because you wore it out.
Yeah, I think the public now is much more in tune with having a conversation that maybe aging isn't a foregone conclusion, much more than maybe 20 years ago or even 10 years ago when we started the show. Probably it's still a long way from being a common thought, but a lot of people now are starting to really say, well, yeah, maybe aging's disease, maybe aging isn't something that's just a foregone conclusion. And if that's the case, then you might have solved one of the biggest cons on the human psyche, which is you just got to let it go and not try, and all of this crazy stuff, these mindsets. I mean, you mentioned my Instagram videos. I mean, I'm 51 and I'm doing head spins as a break dancer.
Right.
I bet David 30 years ago, I wouldn't have done that because there would have been so much subliminal messaging that I had to act my age, or old people didn't do that, or I should feel these pains that maybe I wouldn't. But being around ideas like yours, I just think, well, why the hell not? So the mentality of it makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference. And I find there's two groups of people now. There's the forward thinkers who are saying, well, that might be interesting to live way past 100. But still the smaller majority says, I wouldn't want to do that. I would be in a wheelchair and diapers, and I wouldn't know my own name, and my skin would be so thin that you could see through me. And there is no evidence that that is the only way to age. That's just what we've seen so far. And those are the same people who said, a week before the first airplane flew, men can never fly, and all this made up nonsense. Same thing with the 4-minute mile. It's impossible. One guy breaks the 4-minute mile, and the next year 4 guys do. And now it's like in high school, people break a 4-minute mile. So what happened? We just became aware it was possible and we started doing it. And that's my job right now. It is possible to be healthy, strong, focused, high energy, have a good sex drive, and to be more than 100. I know because I've seen it. And those are people who did not have any of the benefits we have today of AI, of the ability to access more information than a king or a president 50 years ago could do. You can get it for free online. And we're at a point where if you're willing to put in the time, you're willing to pay attention, you can completely change what aging looks like. And the new vision that I have for when I'm 180 is that I am at least as strong as I am now. I am way more wise than I am now because I'll have seen even more government tyranny overthrown. And I will actually be in a position to share a lifetime of knowledge with people who are interested. And I see it that way because I'm so lucky that people literally, I had an 88-year-old mentoring me when I was 26. It was so much knowledge and so much wisdom and all of that. I can't imagine what will happen when I'm 150 and I'm working with people in their 20s saying, man, here's the stuff you should have known. And if only 10% of them are open to it, and they take that and then they live 150 years, we're going to change the shape of society with that kind of stuff. We need our village elders back. We used to always have those. And now our older people are largely too tired and just not even respected. And so if you're too tired and your brain doesn't work, of course you can't do your job. And I'm looking to make some changes there. I still find friends who are 20 and 30 years older than me, and I learn from them. And I have friends who are much younger than me, and I learn from them too. And that's in a healthy society, that's how it works. And it's not normal to be segmented only by your age. That's a very recent invention, and it's not healthy for humans.
Yeah, I've had recent contact with 3 of my guests in their late 70s. Guys like Robert Kiyosaki, Jim Rickards, and Dan Pena, who you know because we were both at his castle in Scotland about 7 years ago. And these guys are in their late 70s. Not only are they crushing it, they're like creating new intellectual property. They've got like big plans. They're almost at the top of their game. And it's like fascinating to see. And you're thinking, wow, if you can keep this up for another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, you get some super powerful people and ones that can pass on so much knowledge. Also, at this part of their life, Dave, they're usually giving a lot back or trying to give a lot back. So imagine if that continues and there was more of it. Yeah, the world would be a better place for sure.
That's a really important piece of advice. I think your listeners in particular would appreciate. And this isn't the stuff that's in my new book or anything, but when I was in my 20s, I was really focused on being an entrepreneur, even my very early 20s. And by the time I was 26, I was quite successful. I did it. But I had this mindset that no one wanted to help and that I had to do it myself. And that if I accepted help, I would be burdened with some kind of responsibility, like I would owe people. And this was just due to my parenting and my upbringing. The reality is that if you let someone help you, you are giving them a gift. Because humans are wired, it feels good in our meat operating system, the automatic parts of us. It feels good to help another human. We're supposed to do that. It feels as good as eating feels. So if you're like, hey, sure, I'd love to have your help. If you do that for someone and you let them help you, they feel good about themselves. You don't owe them anything. You might want to help someone else or help them back. But if I would have been more relaxed that way, I would probably be a billionaire now. Because in the early days of the internet and the web, I'm the first guy to sell anything over the internet. Before e-commerce had a name, I sold a caffeine t-shirt out of my dorm room. And I was written up in Entrepreneur Magazine, full page picture when I weighed 300 pounds, all that kind of stuff. And all I would have had to do was go to Silicon Valley, it was 80 miles from where I lived, and start talking to people. But I just didn't, I had the arrogance, I didn't know how to do it, I didn't want to receive help. One of my contemporaries, Mark Andreessen, who's now a very famous investor, he wrote the first web browser back then. So we're both e-commerce, web browser, and I look at what he did. He was the same age as me. He called up the CEO of a company called Sun Microsystems, a many billion-dollar tech company, and said, hey, what do I do? And Mark's a multi-billionaire. I'm not. Right? It's the willingness and ability to ask for and receive help, especially when you're getting started out. Do that, man. And that's a very smart thing to do. I chose the harder path, which was I'm just going to forge ahead myself. And I was successful, right? I made $6 million when I was 26. I didn't make $60 million when I was 26 because I didn't receive help. Mark did. So there you go.
Yeah, really well said. I was like you, Dave. I never asked for help. And it wasn't until, Pena came on my show and, that I really started getting help from my guests as a side effect for what I was doing. But otherwise, I was terrible at it. And in retrospect, it's helped me so much. And I wish I'd done it earlier. So that's kicking off with a great lesson for anyone watching. You mentioned the meat operating system, which is a heavy theme inside your new book. I want to ask you how it opens up where you tell people to tap the power of laziness.
This is going to be
I expected you to say. What does that mean, Dave?
All right. You've got to understand, there is a system in your body that has kept all life on Earth alive for 2 billion years. And it runs without any visibility from you. And I call it your meat operating system. And animals who don't have the ability to think about time, for instance, and all of that, they somehow all stay alive and they follow some basic rules. And one of the rules is don't waste energy. And the reason for that is there might be a famine. You might not find food. So just be incredibly efficient. And what that means is that this system that sits between you and reality can change what you see. So the first thing I do in the book is I say, all right, let's propose that there's an operating system that's invisible to you that's doing stuff. What evidence do we have that it's real? And one of the scary things is that if I do this, clap my hands, then you would hear it right away, wouldn't you? Except it doesn't work like that. What happens is that when I put electrodes on your head, and I do run a neuroscience brain upgrade company, so this is personal experience and validated as a standard measure of cognitive function, there's a lag time between a sound or a sight and when your brain gets the first electrical signal that it happened. If you are a normal 50-year-old, 40-year-old, or even 60-year-old, it's about a third of a second. And if you're 18 years old or you have a hacked brain, it's about a quarter second. So there's some time when your body does stuff to information from the world and then chooses to present it to you or chooses not to present it to you. So you don't see that lag time, do you? A third of a second delay on what I'm saying?
No.
I don't see it either. So some part of your body is hiding that from you. And in the middle of each eye, there's a dime-sized, I don't know what the European equivalent of a dime is, but whatever, a euro coin-sized blind spot right in the middle of each eye. Some system in our body edits that out of reality, but we know it's there and we can find it. So, okay, what else is that system doing? Well, it's manipulating your behaviors. It's the one that makes you go out on the date you probably know you shouldn't have gone out on, but it sounded like so much fun. It's the one that when you're faced with going to the gym or eating the pizza and sitting on the sofa, you choose the sofa because the sofa looks more attractive than it is. And the gym looks less attractive than it is. So there's a system in there manipulating you by making some things look better than they are. And then we feel shame over that because that is laziness. It is the body saying, please don't use calories, you might starve to death. So what we do is our coaches, our parents, our teachers, our society says, shame on you for being lazy. Dude, newsflash, your body is lazy and that has kept our species alive. It is very effective and there is nothing wrong with feeling lazy. That is a normal and healthy human thing because laziness also caused us one day, I will say it caused a guy, I'll just start that over. Laziness is important for us because, well, one day there was a guy and he was hoeing by hand. And he said, I hate this. And he looked at his ox and said, I think I'll make a plow. And then that guy, several generations later, said, you know what? I hate this. Let me make a tractor. So laziness drives human progress. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you feel an innate desire to not exercise, good. Your body is working correctly. So we drop our shame and our guilt about it. And then we say, all right, how do we use this innate drive to save energy? Well, use it to motivate yourself. The laziness principle, it's a new thing in personal development. And it's the fact that our body amplifies certain signals to look more attractive than they are. Saving energy or saving money feels better than spending it. You ever, Brian, had someone in your family go to the shopping mall, the department store, maybe Harrods, and come back with some expensive thing like purse or shoes or something and say, I saved 200 pounds or euros or whatever the heck, wherever the store is. If it's Harrods, it'd be pounds. But you talk about the savings. You don't talk about how much you spent, right? Why did saving feel bigger than it was? Well, that's our operating system. This is why coupons work. So you saved $1. The amount of time it took you to cut out a coupon or use the code and all that was actually worth less than $1. But man, saving money feels good. So if this is a motivator for us, why don't you use that? What I do in the new book, and this is the final cover, Smarter, Not Harder. This is at least the American cover. What I'm doing is I'm saying, look, use that as the carrot to motivate yourself. So when it's time to go to the gym, instead of saying, yeah, I'm going to go work out and sweat and try to pump yourself up, say, I'm going to do something that works better than lifting rocks and running away from tigers. In fact, it worked 3 times better. I'm going to save 45 minutes at the gym today. And suddenly your resistance from your body to going to the gym melts away. But I was like, oh, I get to save something? I'll go. So you give yourself a coupon for the time you saved at the gym and it's worth more to you. And then it just doesn't feel bad to go to the gym. And I teach you across 5 domains, here's the stuff that works better than picking up rocks and doing basic cardio. And that's what all exercise is today. We're still exercising like it's the dark ages. And I talk about it for your brain, for meditation, for stress management, for strength, and for cardio. It's not just the gym. It's pick a system you want to upgrade and do it in the way that works most effective. That's why I say I'm lazy. Brian, you know I've built a $100 million company from scratch. I've 5 New York Times bestsellers, assuming this one also makes the list, and the podcast and all this stuff I could talk about. It's because I'm lazy. I only use the most effective tools and I'm willing to work hard. But so many people, because of shame over this laziness, we're told if you work hard, you'll get results. Working hard does not guarantee results even a little bit. What you do is you choose the most effective tool with the most leverage, and then you work hard.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.
you.